welcome. Hello. Let me introduce you to our audience, and thanks for making time. We are speaking to Yaroslava Burlachenko, who has played professional handball for over 13 years now. Has played handball for a long time. Played in Turkey, the Ukraine, currently active in Romania. Is playing for Minau Bayamare, I hope I got that right.
Yeah.
And is also the team captain and works and mentors athletes for their digital branding and self-care. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you, and thanks for making time. I also want to make sure to mention the experience store that you've set up on the SPRTER app, where fans can book experiences with you, such as a personal Zoom call and some other awesome one-on-one experiences to get to know you better and to learn from your knowledge and expertise. So let's dive straight into the show. Can you walk me back to where it all started? How did you start playing handball? Where did that love for the sport develop?
Actually, I've always been the active child. I was playing every kind of sports what we found in the yard with my friends. And when I was in the 5 degrees, our teacher, physical education teacher, he proposed us to play handball. I never heard before about such a kind of sports. And I was curious, how is it? I was so excited to try. And when we started to shoot to the goal, I would say like, oh, that's cool. I like it. And I was always competing with guys from my class. And they were always saying that, oh my God, you're so strong. Your shoot are so strong and you're so good on this. Actually, that time I didn't pay attention to that. I just had fun. And after I think 7 months after I started to go to some handball course in our school, my uncle, he offered me to go to Olympic reserve school to try like the professional level handball. Okay. So I say, of course, I want to try. And since that time, I become step by step to be more professional in this way.
All right, and you grew up in the Kiev area, is that right?
Yeah. I was born in Kiev. I grew up there, and when I was 20, it was my first time I was going to play abroad for the long period with the contract.
And how did you make that? At what point did you realize, hey, I'm really, really good at this. I could be doing this as my main job. I could be professional.
Actually, when I was 13, I left my home. Mm-hmm. I was running from home, and since that time, I was living in sports boarding Lyceum. So actually, handball for me, it was like a kind of safe place where I could live without having any problem what was out of the handball. So I was just thinking in this way, handball was everything for me because I didn't have that good relationship with my family. So I understood the only handball is the way when I feel really happy. So that's why I was looking this way to continue to play handball. When I become 17, I was called to Ukrainian youth national team. Since that, I started to play for national team of Ukraine. And after 4 years in my first professional club, it was Podatkova University, I had one friend that time. He was playing abroad as well. And he started to say me that, come on, look to you, that you are playing really good for Ukrainian level. You have to try something else. And actually that period we had a financial problem in my club. So I really started to try to look, to searching for some way, how could I go to play abroad? I didn't know absolutely anything. How is it going? So I started to research any kind of information because also that period, I think we had internet already, but I was not that good user on internet. So I just tried to ask some of my buddies, some of my friends, how is it going, and what can I do to find a club abroad, because I actually didn't know anything about any other league besides the Ukrainian. And actually, I think I had a really, really big luck, because I applied to one manager who was manager of men team, but actually he found out women team for me and for two of my friends. So we were playing, three of us, for our first abroad club.
And you went then to Turkey with two of your teammates together?
No, it was Romania. My first
Romania.
year it was in Romania, yeah. And after 1 year in Romania, I was going to play in Turkey for 3 years.
And how did you make the decision, Romania, or was that more of a, hey, your manager is like, here's what I have?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like that, because my first chance, I can say, it was about Turkish team. It was the time it was Murat Pasha, Antalya, and we had some negotiation with them, and we were speaking about some conditions about flight tickets, and after that they just stopped to answer. And I was waiting, and I didn't have any answer, and I started to be nervous about that, because I didn't know what to do. So back then, another Ukrainian team, they called me for the camp. I was going to Uzhgorod for 1 week. I was training with them. After that, they offered me the contract, and exactly in the pretty same days, the manager whom I applied before and who didn't have any offers for me, he called to me and he said, now I have the one. And this one is in Romania. If you want to try, so then you have to make visa, etc. And then they are waiting for you there.
Interesting.
And I said
Sorry,
yeah. Yeah, and I said that this is my chance. I have to try.
And it does take a special type of character to say, you know what, I am taking this opportunity. I'm leaving my country. I'm trying something new. Let me just like go with that. Has that always been like, have you always been like that? Has like a little bit more risk tolerant, as in, hey, let's try something. Let's go. Let's experience.
I think yes. I think my priority, that I was always I had a lot of fears, but every time I had the fear, I say, let me try to make one step forward. After that, I say, let me try to make another step. And like this, it was like with open eyes, but I still did my steps, you know. So I think that's how I reach where I am now.
Okay. A fearful handball player. I find that hard to believe, because I know handball can be pretty tough, and you there's not much room for fear in handball. Now having played in Romania, having gone to Turkey, coming back to Romania, seems like you have a lot of experience living abroad, playing abroad. What's your number one takeaway, that as a player, as a young player who's making the decision, should I go abroad, should I try something, do you have one thing to recommend to them, as in, try it? What should they be looking out for?
No, I didn't have no one whom I can speak directly that, look, I have this opportunity, what have I do? I was always talking with some of my friends, some of my coaches, but they're always the one who was making decision, it was me. Like I was always trying to search some information to get as much as possible, and after that I was just making decision. It was since I was child, actually, because I grew up very free child. Like nobody could hold me at home, or to hold me from doing something what I really loved. So I get used to do like this way. Like when I feel that I need something, when I feel I want to do something, I was just doing it. And someone who was trying to keep me in the place, we were just fighting.
It didn't work. Okay. And that goes along really well with that personality of, let me try something new, let me go to another country, and And I think that's those that leave, they're a little bit different in terms of exploring, that explorer mentality. Now, when you just said earlier, like when you made that decision, there wasn't as much internet connection. Now you are on the opposite side. You are building your digital agency, you are mentoring, you are full on digital. How did you learn, and how do you use your digital knowledge now?
First of all, I had to make a lot of mistakes. Like, first of all, I had to make like, I was thinking like first maybe 7 years since I become professional, like adult professional player. I think I did all the possible mistakes I just could make. And after that, step after step, I started to realize how it have to really be, what the way it have to be. And I think in 2018, yeah, in 2017, I started to have some problems with my heels.
Okay.
I didn't know why, but I always had the pain on my heels. And almost every training, it was with a huge pain. And I started to be afraid, kind of, if it would not be handball, what could I do in my life? What else could I do? And I started to search to different kind of job. And that time I was always searching in Instagram, and I saw a lot of different niche where the people say that you can work there, and you can easily work from just having your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually the person who is last, I don't know, 5-6 years, I'm really good on phone. So I say, let me try. And I started to make some to study courses about marketing, design, about Instagram, self-development, psychology. And I really like the way how the information, what I learned, I started to realize how is everything working. And after maybe 2 or 3 years of studying, I started to understand that actually every athlete needs to create a personal brand, to pay attention to what he's doing, how he is doing, about connection with the supporters, with the fans. And it's actually a really important thing. I think every athlete has to know about that. Someone is making just like by, how can I say, without knowing exactly how he's doing, just trying,
Mm-hmm.
And someone who really knows the way how to build strategy, this is the opposite side, how athletes can create and to make stronger his personal brand. So that's the way I was doing normally before war started.
And you are working with mainly Ukrainian athletes?
Mainly I was working with the Ukrainian and Russian market. And I realized that for the period I was really actively worked about that, like many athletes, doesn't matter is it Ukraine, Russia, or some other countries or nationalities, most of the athletes, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And for me, it was kind of interesting to explain them how the things are working. But in the same time, it was pretty hard to make them sure that they actually need this. Because most of them, they are thinking like, oh, I don't have time for this, or this is too complicated, or I don't actually think that I have to work this way or something. So after all of this experience, let's say, I just understand that or I need the time or I have to do it for myself. And after people see how is it working, then they can do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I stopped. I mean, that the point where I was before the war started.
So, and it's awesome to hear about the the support and telling others how to go about that. And I can totally see that, particular in the Ukraine, Russia, people are very direct. It's like, I play my sport. This is where people should follow. I don't need to talk myself. Whereas in America, it's all about, let me promote myself. And in Europe, and I'm European originally, it's much more reserved. It's like, well, people should follow me just because I'm an athlete. But it doesn't always work that way. So I can understand that convincing that you had to do. You just mentioned the war, and I don't want to make this whole call about the war, but I think it's something we definitely need to address briefly as well. It's certainly right now Ukraine is being invaded by Russia. We have bombing all over the Ukraine. People that supposedly are brothers and countries that have been really close for decades and forever are fighting each other right now. It's really sad to see from the outside, but then obviously someone like you who is born in Kiev, who's working with athletes, who's got friends and family. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience, and how are your close ones doing?
Actually, still, it's pretty hard to find the right words to explain everything what is going there. For sure, the main things of my daily routine is just praying about all of this shit. I'm sorry, to be over as soon as possible, because as many days as it continues, as many lives it takes, and it never have to be like that in any country. It doesn't matter what the countries is there, but of course, when it's about the country where I was born, where all of my family or all of my friends are living, I'm impacted much more than if I would just looking from outside and just to say, oh my God, what's going on? Now I cannot like to watch and to say, oh my God, what's going on? I'm for peace and that's it. No. That's the thing. When I also first 2 days, I was just blocked psychically because I didn't have any idea what can I do, how can I help, and also I didn't, as I can say, um, I was, I didn't care what the color of the life. I was the only black one about all of this happening. And after a couple of days, I started to realize that somewhere I have to give some direction to the emotions I felt. And by this way, I started to coordinate people who are living Ukraine, where they have to do, what the information they have to know. I helped to find them some shelter in Romania, in other countries, some information about some restaurants who is offering food, or some volunteer centers. So that's the way how I was living, how I'm living actually 28 days already.
Yeah, it's very sad to see from the outside, and you've been actively speaking up against it on your social media, and we've seen you've supporting the Hope for Ukraine fundraising. So everyone who's interested in supporting there, it's on your Instagram account. So head over there as well for some support, for some donations. And it's really nice to see and hear about you coordinating some like room for refugees as well as food and etc. So it's a very sad situation. I totally agree. This hopefully is over very soon, because it doesn't serve any purpose other than ego for powerful people, which is sad, just very sad to see. Now, you're someone, you've worked with Russian athletes and you've worked with Ukrainian athletes. Have you seen any Russian athletes speaking up against that? And what do you think is the role of an athlete in times like this?
You know, before people say like the sports is always behind the politics, that sports is not politics. But if we will speak really how the things are going, like in many things, the politics are involved. So here, this is actually not the truth that sports it's not politic. So here we are coming to, I can say, to humanitarian rights and humanitarian vision of each person. And in this way, each person has to have his own position, his own vision, his own voice. I following also some new rules, some new laws, what was appearing last period in Russia, and I understand that as much as it's going, as tougher they started to make, like to say in the right word, they just try to shut the mouth to all of the people who is against this. So it seems like if you're against this, we don't care. We just want to have someone who is who is with us. And this is actually, I can say this is actually dangerous because now they are like on the bubble, you know, all the world over, and they are just inside the bubble. Like I don't say that like all of them, but a lot of people, they are inside the bubble and they just see something what is happening only inside. And they don't find the information what is coming from the outside. So this is also dangerous because it's like how people can be manipulated in the really wrong and really horrible way.
I totally agree. Now, what I hear is also that you're saying that there may be some Russian athletes who want to speak up, who can't speak up as well, particularly if they're inside of Russia. Yet there are some very powerful Russian athletes who are outside of Russia who we would hopefully want a little bit more positioning from them to potentially influence their own people.
I can say also I cannot say about athletes because until now I didn't see actually anyone who was speaking up about what's going on with between Russia and Ukraine. I have seen only influencers who were speaking up and who was really who didn't support in any case the Russian politics. And I just see that now some of them probably they are still in Russia and they understand all the things what will be after with all of the sanctions, etc. And some of them they have just to leave Russia to have the chance for their life, because inside they cannot have the real human rights.
Yeah, it's very, very sad, and we could probably talk about that for a long period of time. But I do want to transition from this to one of your other focus that you've been working on, and it's about athlete self-care, right? Particularly in times like this right now, self-care and taking care of your mental health is extremely important. How did you get to this point? How does your experience as a team captain play a role in you learning about this? And how do you promote this and how do you help others?
First of all, as I said, when I started to learn marketing, this design, etc., especially about marketing, I started to understand some things about the business, how to build business. And there I found some information about team building, about ecosystem inside the team. And I started to try to involve the information what I found about the business. I was trying to involve all of this in sports, because as for me, there is actually not that big difference. This is the same group of the people who has to have the same goals, the same vision, the spirit of the team, when where each member can feel the real power, that can feel that here people who is next to them, they need them, they need their power. So then they feel support and they can show up themselves for the maximum to open their potential. That's for me the most important thing inside the team, and I'm still convinced about that, it's about the leading of the team. The person who is making this, who is creating the atmosphere inside the team for the others, when others can open up their potential, this is the most important thing for the good, really good results. And I haven't been always thinking this way. Like if I remember myself, like 5 years ago, I wasn't at all self-confident. And I was like, should I have this or I don't have to do this? If someone say that you are doing some stupid things inside the game, I was really believing that, oh, okay, sorry, I will not do this way. And after some situation in my life, I started to understand that now I have to work properly on my psychologies, on my self-confidence, because like I believe more to other people than I believe myself. And this is the actually key player for a key. This is actually the key for a professional athlete who wants to have a good performance, who has to grow up, who wants to grow up. The main thing what the athlete has to do is to have belief in himself. That's the key point. Only when he believes himself, then he can really do the great things. Because otherwise, like crowd voice can turn you like in any direction. But when you have your own power, then it cannot turn you this easy. You have your own vision where you have to go, where you have to turn. That's the main idea.
And that's a really good aspect in terms of a really good point for anyone who's listening, and all of we're working with younger athletes as well, as in you need to believe in yourself. And you said that, hey, 5 years ago it wasn't like that, and you took deliberate steps to get to that point. Now, is this something when you work with athletes, you walk them through, you help them to get to this point in a deliberate way? Are there some specific steps that they can take in order to become more self-confident and in order to be more themselves?
Before, I was writing a lot on my blog or any kind of posts about psychologists, about how I found the right way to handle myself in some stress situation inside the game. And until now, I'm posting something on my stories, and I become to idea that really need this information, that one will pay attention. And since I become the team captain, I stopped to work like, I was working in a mastermind with athletes. When the mastermind was over, I was concentrated more for my team results and for our teamwork. So since then, I understand that I cannot handle that period when we had the most intense schedule. I realized that I cannot handle also some mastermind or to work with someone particular. So that period, I say that for some period, I just stopped this kind of work, and as I did.
So it's also about knowing when you have time as an athlete, right? You have these ups and downs of your availability and knowing what to prioritize. I think you said it earlier on. Some athletes say, hey, I don't have time. I only want to focus on my training. But what I hear from you saying is like sometimes there is a little bit less, there's more stress, right, during those times when you're always on the road. And sometimes there are these down times when you can actually get involved with actively building your brand, with taking care of some other business outside and further educating yourself. So that's really, really exciting to hear. And for anyone who's listening, make sure to follow Yassi on all of the socials to make sure to get those insights. And hopefully once the world is a better place again, hopefully we'll have more time for that as well. I do want to be really mindful of your time, and I really appreciate you joining us today. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you think, hey, this is really important that we need to communicate?
What about the athletes, as we are discussing about the athletes? So I think there is the main values. But first of all, it doesn't matter actually what kind of job, what kind of sports the person are following, are doing. I think the most important thing to transmit the correct values of ourselves. That's how we can find out the people who is the same way of thinking with us, and that's how we can, in my opinion, that's how we can make this world better and the sports we are doing better and the life we are living better.
So live a value-guided life and make sure that whatever you do, your values are the foundation for doing so.
Yeah, and to show up these values. Like, what's really important for someone is the main important in the life about the sport is the family. So also when we are using our blogs and when we show up that the family is first of all, that's the important message what we transmit to other people. And then how we can find the same mind people who is also thinking that family first of all, family is above all. That's what I'm trying to say, that we have, as athletes, as human in general, we have to transmit, we have to show up the right messages about what we are doing. It's also about the war in Ukraine,
Yeah, and we know that there's a lot of families that are part Ukrainian, part Russian. There's so much connection between, and as you said, it's about when you say family first, or when you work with family, there's a lot of family interconnections, and that hopefully is one way to escape the bubble as well, and to raise awareness around the issues. So hopefully more and more people are speaking up. Hopefully more and more awareness is being raised, but not just awareness, but also funds and support. So again, you support the Hope for Ukraine fundraiser. We're going to make a donation later on. What we are doing at SPRTER, because part of our development team is also Ukrainian. So we've had some of our developers have been living in Kiev and have just since left Kiev. What we are doing right now is we are matching any dollar or any SPRTER coin that is being spent on the app. We're matching as a one-on-one, as a donation. So anyone who's booking an experience with you right now through the SPRTER app, any of the awesome experience you got there, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's some other insights and training plan support like that, we're matching that with a one-to-one dollar donation to support the Ukraine at the moment as well, and hopefully the humanitarian rights and the support that the country needs. So when you say values, we're fully supporting. We hope that this is over soon, and this is a plea for everyone to live by their values and show their values in times of war, and support it what they say with their actions, and speak to their, like, destroy the bubble, speak to their Russian connections and see what can be done from the inside. So really tough times. Thank you so much for joining us during these tough times, and really awesome to see what you're doing, the work you're doing in helping people in Romania, helping them to come over, get some support there, all of the refugees. So let us know how we can support down the road. And again, for any of our listeners, make sure to follow Yassi on all of the socials. We'll connect that in the bio. We'll connect that in the caption. So follow her on all of the socials, on the SPRTER app, book some experiences. For the rest of March, we are going to match those experiences also with a one-on-one donation. So the SPRTER still gets all of the money, and we're matching it with a donation to support the situation in the Ukraine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for this interview. I really appreciate
thanks for
what you are
making
doing,
time.
guys.
Thanks for making time, and have an awesome day.
And you. And you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.